Hey everyone, I'm Jake with Numark. Welcome back to Mix Academy. In this episode, we're going to cover beat juggling. So I'm on the Numark Scratch mixer and I have two RANE 12 MK2s. I'm using Serato and I have a drum loop, the same drum loop pulled up on both decks. So let's just count this beat out together. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then what really makes a good drum loop to beat juggle is something that has a lot of clearly defined elements on the and. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. If you listen to this one, it has a little like snap or clap on the ands. 1 and. That's the and right there. And. So you hear that element throughout. And again, that's 1 and. So that's the 1 and. Now, another key element of beat juggling is knowing where the samples land on the record. So on the RANE 12 MK2s, I'm using the RANE acrylic discs because there's a clearly defined marker. So at the 12 o'clock position, what I would recommend is setting your first beat cue point at that position. So that is our first kick. Right at 12 o'clock. And now if you look at the marker, our and falls right about at this second marker. So I know where that is. And then our first snare, which would be beat 2, it falls down here by these, RPM buttons, the speed selector buttons. So I know where those beats lie. So I know where those beats are. Most importantly, I know where the first beat is, and that's at 12 o'clock. So I'm going to mirror that exactly on the other side. So I'm going to set my first cue point, which is that first kick. Right there up top. So now we have our deck set up. Let's get into some basic juggles. So on this one, we'll just go back to the birth of hip hop and we'll just do one drum loop on one side and we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and we'll just go back and forth. So you can see as we let the sample play on one deck, we're pulling back the other deck to the top of the sample again. And that's really the core of beat juggling, is just extending that, drum loop indefinitely. Now, there comes a point where you can start adding a little flavor into the juggle. And one of the easiest ways is to just, baby scratch the next beat, maybe on that and of that fourth beat. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And on that and, I'll do a little baby scratch before I drop the next record in. So it sounds like this. Now, another beat juggling method is just to play maybe only half of that loop. So maybe only 1 and 2 and then jump over to the next deck, 1 and 2 and just vary up the pattern a little bit. So you can play 4 beats on one turntable, 2 beats on the other, 2 beats on the other, then 4 beats, and just go back and forth just to vary up that beat or that pattern. Now that you're comfortable with those basic juggles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're comfortable with bringing that sample back up to the 12 o'clock, you can start getting a little creative with it. So for this example, this juggle, we're going to utilize that little hi-hat that's on the and of 1, 1 and, 1 and. because that is kind of the note right before 2, which is that snare. So for this juggle, we're going to use these 3 sounds. We're going to use a kick, we're going to use this little hi-hat on and, 1 and then 2, which is the snare. But what we're going to do is we're going to use that hi-hat and that a little bit of that snare as kind of a bridge as we do a little different pattern to the beat. So I'm going to actually slow this down so the beat plays slower, and then we'll do it at full speed. So check it out. All right, we're going to do that one full speed, and you're going to see how I'm going to go back and forth with the pattern. Another fun thing to do with beat juggling is to use some of the musical elements from one deck to replace some other musical elements on the other deck. So, for example, in this drum loop, you know, we have the kick on the 1, but then on the and of 1 and, we have that you know, snap or hi-hat on the and of 1, and then we have 2, which is the snare, and then on the and of 2 and, we have another hi-hat or snap or whatever. So what I'm going to do is replace those hi-hats, the ands, with a kick. I'm going to do 1 and 2, and in between those 2 kicks, I'm making sure I'm moving this crossfader back over to catch some of the sound from this deck. So that's going to leave us in an interesting position, because the second and, I'm going to let the turntable play that kick, and then it's going to go right into its hi-hat. But if I just let this play throughout, we're going to be off by an 1/8 note. So I just quickly, I'm going to do a baby scratch to get us back in rhythm. Whatever you're doing to chop up the pattern, try to have a snare land on 2 and 4. That's going to make it sound more like a proper rhythm and not just a bunch of jumbled beats together. So for this juggle, I'll vary it up a bit by replacing those ands, those hi-hats, with some kicks, and then I'll mix it up and replace some of those ands with the snare, which is on that beat number 2. So that should be enough to get you started with beat juggling. Work on your timing, work on your patterns, work on your hand speed, and pretty soon you can move on to some more advanced patterns like tap pausing. And basically that's like breaking it down like to halftime by using your, by tapping the record in between beats. And then you can vary up the pattern like this. So if you want to see that lesson, just let me know in the comments below. We'll do a tap pausing beat juggle lesson for you on Mix Academy. Well, that'll do it for this lesson. I'm Jake from Numark. Thank you so much for watching Mix Academy. Let me know if you have comments or questions below, and we'll do our best to answer. Go out, have fun, practice, and enjoy.